Hi kittens, I'm Julie Savone, psychedelic facilitator, integration expert, and your guide for this wild ride, the Inner Trip, 365 days with plant medicine. I've helped hundreds of people use plant medicine, primarily psilocybin, to heal, expand, and step into their next level. But this year, I'm taking it even deeper. For the next 365 days, I'm bringing you with me. I'll be microdosing, journeying, integrating, and exploring what it really means to live a limitless life, with plant medicine as a tool, not a crutch. So if you're ready to feel more alive, more clear, more limitless, and you're down to do it with mushrooms and a little bit of sass, you're in the right place. Let's take the inner trip. Coming at you with a twofold intention today, kittens. I both want to share an update with you and celebrate something with you. So let's get into it. In terms of an update, I recorded an episode back in February, or I might have even recorded it in January, that said, hey, this is what the women inside Limitless Woman are dealing with. This is what called them into the program. This is sort of their baseline, their starting point their starting jump point, right? And I said, I promise, in the first week of June, I'm going to come back here and I'm going to update you. I'm going to share where the women are at and, what's changed for them, what's shifted, what they have learned and grown into and expanded into in the course of Limitless Woman. And one thing that I'm really big on is not forcing a timeline because of, an arbitrary thing I said before, or I feel like sometimes people aren't flexible because they're trying to hold on to a calendar. Can be reassuring, right? Like I say this as definitely someone who works through what I like to call a bit of a taskmaster gremlin. I actually got that from one of the women at my retreat who she so perfectly described something that I experience, which is this idea of like having a list of things to do and like not feeling good or settled or like being distant and not being in the moment and being snippy with people because you're in pursuit of this list, right? You're in this like taskmaster energy, and that's where you get a lot of like your worth and your sense of comfort and all these things. And when she said all that, I was like, girl, I see you and you see me, and like, thank you for putting words to something that I have definitely experienced but didn't know like what that really meant. And I definitely used to have that taskmaster energy. And now I'm always thinking about like, what does this moment actually need, right? Because what this moment might need could be very, very different from, things that we had laid out a month ago, a week ago, etc. So that's all to say, Limitless Woman got started late because there were things that I felt like the moment needed. I really wanted to do a business audit with every single woman where we went over like I call it the State of the Union, right? As we were entering this, like, tell me everything about your business and career, because I don't know how to support you and where you want to go until I know where you're at in this moment. I decided to add bonus human design calls for everyone, which was an individualized process of looking at what is your human design and where are you living by that already in your business? Where is there room to grow into that even more? And so it's all to say the timeline got pushed down a little bit. So now everyone inside Limitless Woman will be wrapped up by the second to last or last week of June. We have some women in the VIP and some women in the group. And so I'm waiting on that to really finish to give a full update of like, okay, this is what we talked about then. And that was part of the experiment, right? I'm doing this like mini experiment inside of an experiment. Because this podcast is an experiment. This podcast was meant for me to be able to look at and see like, how good can it get with a year of maxed out but still integrated and intentional psychedelic use, taking the breaks that are necessary, the prerequisites, etc. And I was thinking about it because I had just listened to this episode. I just listened to the episode where I talked about where the women were at. I'm going to listen to it again. And then I'm going to record a full-blown episode. Okay, this is where they were at. This is where they're at now. But I did want to come in with just an update, just a quick check-in to say, hey, these are some things that were moving and grooving. And so it was really good because a couple of the women came to Mexico as well. and I was able to, connect with them and to go over even more deeply their businesses with them. One of the women, actually, one of the women gave a bit of an impromptu, what's the word I'm looking for? Demonstration of her of her skills. She runs a business. She's a clinic owner, and she brought supplies to, I feel like this sounds so weird. She's a chiropractor, okay? She's a chiropractor, so she brought supplies. One of her zones of excellence is this technique called nasal release, something I never heard of before her, and she did nasal release on all of the women, which was really cool. It's something where I've obviously heard her talk about it, and I feel like I know what it is, sort of. But do I really do you really know until it happens? I even felt that way with an adjustment, right? I felt like, oh, people say an adjustment's so scary and they can break your spine or all this crazy stuff. And then you get one and you're like, oh, okay, this actually feels really good. This woman inside Limitless Woman, she's actually the only person who I'll let adjust me because I am really scared of it. Just the thought of someone cradling your head like that is a bit scary to me. So she did that, and it was really cool for her to get to explain this is what it is, and for other people to learn more about it. And then the other woman who's inside Limitless Woman, she facilitated one of the sessions on Integration Day, which was just a really beautiful way to wrap up the weekend together, because her product that she's developing and bringing to market really lends itself to sort of this deeper inner work as well. And so just a really powerful weekend, great opportunity for them to get to showcase their skills and their zones of excellence. So that was beautiful to get to connect with them. And, I shared at the beginning of this process, there was a lot of feeling of burnout. They might not have identified it as burnout, but when I heard them talking, there was just this overwhelming feeling of I know what I'm supposed to do and I can't make myself do it. One woman called it a brain freeze, where she knew what she needed to do and she could not make herself do it. And so that to me signals a state of functional freeze, right? So burnout, stress, overwhelm, again, they're all signaling the same thing in our brain, which is that we are entering a state of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn when we want to be in rest and digest. And so this shows up for looking a lot of different ways for people. It can look like ghosting your business. It can look like an inability to do things in your business. It can look like always seeking approval from and through your business, or pushing really super hard, to the point of, pure exhaustion. So in all the ways that this can show up, I was showing up for her as she couldn't do it. She could not do the things that she knew she needed to do. And now I recently received a text from her, and she said, you guys, she's messaging the group, right? I am not going into this week with dread. I have a full schedule, which normally would send me over the edge and be like, oh my gosh, I don't want to go in. I don't want to do it. I don't want to see all these patients. And right now I'm feeling great. And she said, especially coming back from a trip, which she travels a lot, but especially after coming back from a trip where it's oh my gosh, I had all this freedom, essentially, right? I can do whatever I want, whenever I want. There's no one to tell me to do something, even if it's me telling myself in my business. That's sort of where she feels like she thrives. She said, I'm coming back and I don't feel dread. I feel good. And this is the feeling that I want to continue to capitalize on. And I never put anything on anyone, meaning it's really interesting sometimes how this all works, where, my whole experiment from this podcast is how good can it get? And then one woman who, again, I don't think has ever listened to my podcast. She's a longtime client. I don't know that she's a big podcast listener, said that her intention for the weekend was to ask, how good could it get? And it's these little synchronicities that what some people might hear that and be like, oh, she's feeding them this information, or she's telling them to do this. And it's no, these people are coming to their own conclusions about this work. And so one thing for this woman, the woman who was experiencing dread, was realizing that she always thinks about things and what can go wrong, and instead having her entertain the best case scenario. And that has been such a game changer for her, with things not just her business, right? But her dating life. and interactions with friends and things where she might have otherwise assumed, like, for instance, someone is mad at me. And so just to have this fresh outlook on life of how good can it get, and what's the best case scenario, these are all things that I believe, the intentional and integrated use of psychedelics just sort of naturally produces in our brains, because I promise these are not things I'm feeding anyone. They're not things I'm telling you, like, this is the attitude that you should adopt, or this is the way that you should be looking at things. I'm very conscious as a facilitator that psychedelics are extremely suggestible. So the studies have shown, like, for instance, if you are working with if you're in psychedelic assisted therapy and you're working with a CBT therapist, your outcomes are going to be very, like, CBT flavored, right? Cognitive behavioral therapy. And if you're working with, like, a Jungian therapist, they're going to be Jungian flavored. And it's like there's strong evidence to suggest that the provider does influence the outcome. So I am very conscious of that in coaching, and, like, in true pure coaching, coaching is about asking a question. It's not about, like, teeing something up or necessarily mentoring or explaining. There's, of course, more space for that in something like Limitless Woman, for example, where it is meant to be mentorship. But, like, in the retreat space, for example, it is more a pure coaching style of, like, helping you come to your own conclusions and digest information for yourself, right? For you to, everyone's ultimately always the expert in themselves. That's something I believe. So it's really cool to just see these women step into these energies and embody them, and to see what those energies of possibility and expansion can do for them. Another really cool update is, the woman with the products-based business. She came into this realizing that she had anxiety really for the first time in her life, and she knew she didn't want to pursue medication. And so what was really cool for her, I just saw her, like, this to me is, like, such a beautiful example of collapsing timelines, where she realized she had anxiety. She didn't want to do medication. So instead of doing what a lot of people do, which isn't wrong or bad, right? But a lot of people are like, oh, well, let me try medication. Let me try therapy. Let me try X, Y, and Z, these things that might make some difference, but don't move the needle to where they want to move. And then they come to the practice of microdosing, and then they find psychedelics. She's like, you know what? This is a natural solution. There's a lot of research. I'm just going to go straight there. And it's so cool to see her make that jump, and to see her, really step into one thing that I make everyone do inside Limitless Woman. And some of the women, like, a lot of the women hate it, and they have a love-hate relationship with it because it's very confronting, but it's essentially this list, right? It's a list of what is everything that you do in your business and your life, really. So, and your career. It's really looking at, okay, I make my kids lunches. I'm the one who has to call the lawn guys to make sure, like, our lawns are treated. Like, I'm doing all of our accounting. So, I mean, this list is freaking comprehensive, and that's why it can be confronting. And, one big thing from everyone is looking at, like, is this worth the value of my time? So one woman was still stocking toilet paper in the office. One woman, I was like, babe, you're never going to be able, she's also helping her husband with his business. You're never going to be able to launch your business if you are doing everything at the house. You're helping your husband with his business, and you're trying to get your business off the ground. Like, launch time, a jet uses most of its fuel on launch, right? Same thing with a business. So if you're giving so much of your energy across these different areas, like, where is the energy for your business? So a big thing for her was, like, she got help. She got help with the financial aspect of having someone come in and take over the books. She's getting help. She's hiring an EA, right? So there's a lot of really cool stuff that's happening for her in terms of just having more time back, because a big part of this process is, like, recognizing what is my zone of excellence, and then how can I exist there more. And I guarantee you there are so many things that you're doing that are not in your zone of excellence that, like, when you delegate them to a competent person, is going to unlock so much for you in terms of your energy and your creativity and your vision. So that is a really big win. And I'm just celebrating these women for committing to the process, because it can be uncomfortable, right? it's uncomfortable to have an honest assessment with yourself about what is and is not working. And I'll say the transition is uncomfortable, right? Like even hiring someone, the end result is so great, but it is the overcoming the initial inertia of like, you do have to train someone. Of course you have to train someone. But like understanding like the cost benefit analysis and the long-term gain. So celebrating them for getting through the hump. And now we're like really we're in the final countdown, and these last calls are really about fine-tuning the process, because the program works by like the first couple months we have our group calls, the private calls if you're in the VIP, and you're working through the curriculum in this course that I've built out. And then we have a month of integration where we still have Telegram support or support in between, right? Like text support for me, but there aren't the live calls, and you're implementing in real time, and you're finding like what works for you, what you've already implemented and is really strong, and what could use some support. And then we are taking the last month to like really look at all the gaps that you've identified from kind of pretty much going it alone, and this is the problem that I see in so many programs. It doesn't matter how long they are, but for the full time, it's like you're almost drowning with information and implementation, and there's no time to really kind of like breathe and see when the dust settles, what is it really like. And so the point of going through the program and having the group calls in the first 2 months is so that by the third month, when we don't have the calls and you've pretty much gone through the curriculum, you can really see like, okay, this is how this feels now, and this is something that like works really well for me. This is something where I still don't feel like I've figured out exactly my sweet spot. And to make adjustments in the last month together to kind of like regroup and recircle and refocus. I'm really excited for that time now, so that by the time they do leave, they already know what it's like to essentially like do this in real time, and live in their zone of excellence, exist there. So that's what's going on with the group. And so I don't have the full update for you. I'll have the full update for you end of June. But I did want to drop in because I like, even if I can't make a timeline, right, even though I've released some of that Taskmaster, it's still like a piece of integrity for me to say, hey, I said I was going to do something, so I'm going to come back and like tell you what I can, even if it's not exactly what I said I would do when I would do it. Not as a justification or an over explanation, but it's an integrity thing for me. So here we are with our check-in, and now I'm going to celebrate something with you. Something that this is the first time I'm saying it publicly. I've said it to my business coach. I've said it to my EA. I've said it to some people. Shared it with the group. I shared it with my most recent retreat group because we were on an integration call and we were doing some celebrations. It's something that I wasn't sure if I was going to share publicly because I mean, in some way, I feel like this doesn't. I'm not. I mean, maybe some of it now that I'm saying it out loud is like just it's a fear of being seen in that way. But I also think like I don't think it's the end all be all measure of success, and I think we talk about this particular metric a little bit too much and make it mean sometimes more than it means. But for me, it's just a really beautiful affirmance of my process and the things that I literally teach inside, Limitless Woman, because as of May 12th, 2026, I have made more money in my business than I did in all of 2025. 2025 was a hard year. My goodness, there were so many things that were tough about it. And the results of a difficult year were definitely seen like on my profit and loss statement. So I can honestly and excitedly say that I've already made more money in this year than I did in 2025. And I also, 2025 was a year of like hyper investing in my business. A big part of it was because, and this is on me, I kept looking for someone else to tell me like, hey, this is what you should be doing, or this will like catapult your business, or XYZ. And I invested in all sorts of masterminds and coaches and blah, 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 thinking that they had the answer for me. And the big thing that I walked away from all of those groups is that those people are really more interested in, a lot of people a lot of people are more interested in explaining to you their way than helping you figure out your way. Because here's the thing, there are things I don't fucking want to do. I do not care about a funnel. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I'm building out a funnel for one of my programs, but like people who are so obsessed, like, you need this funnel and that funnel, and you need to run a masterclass. I'm just like, you need to post 4 times a day on social. Barf. Barf, 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 barf. No fucking thank you. And this year, I have done more revenue than I did in 2025 by doing things my way. And there were some big lessons that I took away from this process, because it wasn't just this like random or lucky or unexpected thing. This happened because of ways that I was intentional, and because I committed to the things that matter most to me, because I let go of the things that weren't serving me. Essentially, like, this happened because I went through the process that I teach inside Limitless Woman, which isn't like you need to do X, Y, and Z. It's a co-collaborative process. That's why I intentionally keep this group small, because I am in the process of discovering what works for you, which isn't what works for me, which isn't what works for the 9 other women in the group, you know? And most people just aren't concerned with that. They're concerned with telling you how they do things and having you replicate their process. And I don't think that's serving people. So, you know, I stopped working with those people who were telling me what worked for them, because no one has the magic formula. And that really showed up for me in Limitless Woman too, because one woman really didn't want to build a personal brand. She wanted to do more of a grassroots movement. She has lots of feelings about social media. Her product is actually like in opposition to social media. And so she wanted to do it in a way that felt integrous to her. And she did. I really started honoring my nervous system because, you know, as I've shared multiple times, at the end of 2025, I was super fucking burnt out. I just was like, I was burnt out, and it was like, push through it, get to the other side. This is normal. And I had such a bad year as a result of it. And so I get it. I get the critique of like, we're too much in like the soft grow era, but I also think we're still really in that like toxic hustle culture era as well. And growth happens in the sweet spot of discomfort. You have to be in a space of like, I am uncomfortable, but I'm growing, versus like, I am in a space of dread. And, you know, one weird, like, small win for me is, like, I have never opened my laptop past 10 p.m. this year, and I fucking love that. And I think about, like, my client, right, who's experiencing this, like, brain freeze, this brain block, and how she is clearly honoring her nervous system as well, because that feeling of dread is gone. I really started focusing on psychedelics as a tool of a vehicle of expansion. I think that's documented really strongly here. And so it wasn't just like, oh my gosh, like I want to stop looping on this thought. It was like show me how good today can be. Like, what is the best case scenario in these situations? I really started to focus on what I wanted to see more of, and the universe responded. I said no to everything that I couldn't get my energy behind. I stopped doing the things I hate, because here's the thing. Everything is energy, and everything you do is impacted by your energy and the energy you carry into the task. So if you can't get your energy behind it, people can feel that and they respond accordingly. So the results I have are really the result of how much I fucking love the journey, right? It's not about like, oh, I wanted the money. It's like, I'm enjoying the process now, and people are responding to that. And I do like my cutie client and friend who is inside Limitless Woman and came on the retreat. A big thing for me is like, I live in the best case scenario. I choose to believe that things are working out for me every second of the day. And to that end, I visualize a lot more than I have ever before. I really hold the energy and the frequency of what it is that I want. So, you know, this isn't something that I'm sharing here to brag with you. It's just a reminder of the law of oneness. That's what's possible for one is possible for all. And my life has gone through so many shifts in just a few months. And, you know, based on the results and the year that I had in 2025, I shouldn't be where I am now. But time isn't this linear progression that we think it is. Every moment is a fresh start, and you could completely change the trajectory of your life, your business, or your career at any moment. So this is the invitation to let that moment be now. And if this resonated with you, or maybe it stung a little bit, I want to share with you that as you're listening to this episode, if you're listening to it the day it drops, or even for the next week, that I have created a breakthrough accelerator, a mid-year accelerator called Comeback. The comeback is for the women who 2026 is not looking how they wanted it to look, who are feeling like, oh my gosh, the year is half gone. And like, I feel like I want an adjustment. I want to pivot. I believe that there is something great there for me that I have not been able to access. And I want to explode. They want to do it in the way that works for them, in a process that is fine-tuned to them. It's for the women also who have a lot going on in 2026, but know they need to cut through the noise, that they need to focus on what's most important in order to make the impact that they want to make moving forward. And so it is, everyone gets a 90-minute breakthrough session with me first, where we really get a super clear plan of what's going to happen in the next 30 days, because your life can tremendously change in 30 days. The program is running from June basically 15th to July 15th. It is that mid-year Q2 to Q3 accelerator. Like, let's completely change the trajectory of this year, or sharpen it where it needs to sharpen. And then for a month, we're integrating together. We have a month of group support where everything that we talked about in the session, you will be held accountable for in the group, and everyone will be cheering you on and cheering for your success. So if that is something that excites you, we're going to drop the link for the comeback down in the show notes. You can always DM me on Instagram and ask me any questions you may have about the program, about what it looks like. But I am sending you so much love, and I want you to know that everything that you want is possible for you, and that things can change in an instant, and they change in the instant that you decide. And it's the instant that you decide to live in integrity with yourself. Like, integrity is one of my core values, but at the end of the day, integrity is just a sense of congruence. It's that what's important to me is also what I'm doing, it's what I'm honoring, and that is really where the magic flows, and when you decide that it does for you. So I'm sending you so much love. I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk soon. That's the end of today's trip. But remember, the real magic has always been inside of you. If this episode landed, send it to a friend who's ready to step into their next level. And make sure you're following the show so you never miss a dose. I'll be back again soon with another day on the path to your most limitless life. And until then, trust yourself, follow your intuition, and keep asking, how good can it get?